Hello, everybody. Good to be with you again. It's been a little while. Hopefully, you've been staying indoors with the family, staying safe, finding something to do. Read a book, please. But it's finally good to be with you again, and I don't want to waste your time, so here we go. Today, you'll find that I attached a short story called Miss Brill for you. I'd like you to read it. I'm going to start reading it, modeling how to track the main character as she develops in the story. And we're going to look out for symbols today. This story is going to deal with symbolism, so I'm going to go over how to recognize that as well as pay attention to the symbol as it goes so that later we can talk about how the character, the main character, and the symbol both help contribute to the meaning of the story overall. So without further ado, here we go. We have Miss Brill. Although it was so brilliantly fine, the blue sky powdered with gold and great spots of light like white wine splashed over the Jardins Publics. Miss Brill was glad that she had decided on her fur. The air was motionless, but when you opened your mouth there was just a faint chill, like a chill from a glass of iced water before you sip, and now and again a leaf came drifting from nowhere from the sky. Miss Brill put up her hand and touched her fur. Dear little thing, it was nice to feel it again. She had taken it out of its box that afternoon, shaken out the moth powder, given it a good brush, and rubbed the life back into the dim little eyes. Now I'm going to pause right there for just a second because in that first paragraph, it's talked about this fur of Miss Brill's a great deal. So it seems to be important to some degree. Don't know why just yet, but that's what we want to do. When we recognize that something might be significant, might be important, we kind of want to pause and let that sink in. So I'm just going to take a moment right now to write down some of the details about the fur from the story. Things like the fact that it was dear and precious to Miss Brill, that she had to take it out of its box and kind of shaking it out to rub the life back into it. So I'm going to take a moment to kind of jot down those details, and it'll look in my notes something like this. Okay, so you can see from my notes that yes, the fur was very, very precious to Miss Brill, and I wrote down that it kind of looked old and shabby, and I got that from the details that she needed to rub a little life back into it. Like maybe it's been, up in the closet or in her drawers or something like that for a little while, and she needs to kind of wake it up, say, bring it back to life. So let's keep reading the story. What has been happening to me? Said the sad little eyes. Oh, how sweet it was to see them snap at her again from the red eiderdown. But the nose, which was of some black composition, wasn't at all firm. It must have had a knock somehow. Never mind. A little dab of black sealing wax when the time came, when it was absolutely necessary. Little rogue. Yes, she really felt like that about it. A little rogue biting its tail just by her left ear. She could have taken it off and laid it on her lap and stroked it. She felt a tingling in her hands and arms, but that came from walking, she supposed. And when she breathed, something light and sad. No, not sad exactly. Something gentle seemed to move in her bosom. So right there at the very, very end of that first paragraph, it says, when she breathed something light and sad, no, not sad exactly, something gentle seemed to move in her bosom. So that's giving me a little bit of detail about our main character here, Miss Brill. She thinks she's sad, but then she kind of reassesses and said, no, it's not sad, it's gentleness. So she seems like a calmer, older woman. So I'm going to take a moment and write that down. So that's the kind of thing that you should be doing whenever we find out something more new about Miss Brill. We want to just take a minute to write that down, think about it. And the same thing with the fur. So anytime the fur pops up, because the author spent so much time developing it, we want to kind of jot that down as well. So let's continue through the story. Second paragraph. There were a number of people out this afternoon, far more than last Sunday, and the band sounded louder and gayer. That was because the season had begun. For although the band played all the year round on Sundays, out of season it was never the same. It was like someone playing with only the family to listen. It didn't care how it played if there weren't any strangers present. Wasn't the conductor wearing a new coat too? She was sure it was new. He scraped with his foot and flapped his arms like a rooster about to crow, and the bandsmen sitting in the green rotunda blew out their cheeks and glared at the music. Now there came a little fluty bit, very pretty, a little chain of bright drops. She was sure it would be repeated. It was. She lifted her head and smiled. Only two people shared her special seat. A fine old man in a velvet coat, his hands clasped over a huge carved walking stick, and a big old woman sitting upright with a roll of knitting on her embroidered apron. They did not speak. This was disappointing, for Miss Brill always looked forward to the conversation. She had become really quite expert, she thought, at listening as though she didn't listen, at sitting in other people's lives just for a minute while they talked round her. So those were a bunch more details about Miss Brill. The fact that she has this special seat where she goes to listen to the music being played. The fact that she's disappointed that this couple isn't speaking, so she can't hear their conversation that she looks forward to. So I'm going to take a few moments right here, not to write anything down about the fur, but about Miss Brill herself. And I encourage you to do the same. All right, that's enough of an introduction from me. What I'd like you to do now is go through and read the rest of the story. Make sure to write down those important points about Miss Brill as you go, as well as the fur, whenever the fur shows up, because that might be a symbol for something. And make sure to log on tomorrow for the Google Classroom discussion. I'll see you there.